When I was 11 years old, my family and I were on vacation in Wisconsin, and we went swimming in a lake while we were there. Out on the lake, there was a float that was made out of planks on top of 4 empty drums, and there was an iron ladder hanging off the side. My best guess is that the depth of this lake at the location where we found the float was anywhere between 5 and 15 feet. I was there together with my elder brother, my older sister, our older neighbor, and my far older neighbor's older brother. The considerably older one was in his mid to late teens and was keeping an eye on us. He was also keeping an eye on his younger brother. He was well knowledgeable in first aid and water safety, as he was an excellent swimmer, boater, and so on. He resided on the lake. We were playing a game of tag, sometimes known as it, with the rest of the group. When it was my brother's turn to be it, he had to chase after me. Even though I was not a good swimmer, I was going as quickly as I could to get to the ladder and up onto the float in the hopes that he would then focus his attention on someone else who was swimming in the water. He didn't. I climbed up the ladder, turned around, and saw that he was coming for me. I sprinted across the float while giggling, arched my back to avoid getting tagged, and then laughed out when he missed and I jumped into the water. However, even though I was successful in avoiding capture, I failed to take the vital precaution of taking a long, deep breath before plunging into the ocean. It honestly did not occur to me until I was already submerged in water, at which time I became terrified and began to paddle my arms wildly and kick as vigorously as I could to prevent myself from sinking further. Since I had not yet reached the surface of the lake, my lungs were gasping for oxygen, and since I had not yet reached the surface, my instinct was to take a deep breath of lake water. I started to sink like a rock. I was aware of what was going on, but there was nothing I could do to stop it. At this time, my arms and legs became quite fatigued really rapidly, and all of a sudden I stopped fighting. At this moment in the conversation, I suddenly felt a sensation of calm wash over me. When I looked up, I noticed that the sun was rising on the opposite bank of the river. The sound of the water breaking brought me out of my trance after I had merely sat there for what must have been around a minute. I had been lost in thought. I turned my head to look in the direction the sound was coming from, which was around 5 to 6 feet in front of me, and I saw an elderly person diving really quickly, looking like a streak with bubbles surrounding him in the shape of a V as he cut through the water. I watched as he proceeded directly to the bottom of the lake, which was below me, and picked up my corpse from where it had been lying on the bottom of the water. I was so white that it stood out against the dirt and seaweed, but I knew it was myself because I could see my hair, and it was exactly under where I was at the time. Then, with a tremendous amount of force, the person who was now holding his arms under each of my arms like 2 rings pushed off the lake floor and, with that, rushed straight up and put my soul back into my body on the way up to the surface of the water, on the way up to the surface of the water, on the way up to the surface of the water. After that, he began the Heimlich technique, and I immediately began throwing up lake water. It was revolting. I was gagging and hacking up mucus. Not a fantastic experience. After that, he carried me to an area of the lake with shallower water, where I was able to touch the bottom with both of my feet, and he placed me down there. I fixed my eyes on him, and he turned his head to look at me. He inquired, "Are you all right?" "Yeah." I got out of the water, walked back to the pier on legs that were shaking extremely badly, and sat down on the grass while gazing up at the sky and wondering what the heck had just taken place. I feel that for a while I was in a state of shock. It was never brought up in conversation. I don't remember exactly when, but somewhere about 20 years later, I expressed my gratitude to him for rescuing me. He didn't even remember it. I updated him on the situation and extended my gratitude to him once more. He didn't give it a second thought. I was aware of how near we were. That event had a significant impact on me and the person I am now. I had no idea how fleeting life may be or how much value it has until I came to terms with it. We give thanks to God that he had the experience that he did and that he was at that lake on that particular day. Since then, I've done a lot of research on the afterlife, including reading and researching about near-death experiences and supernatural occurrences. I couldn't stop thinking about it, but after that, I didn't have any more NDEs. Despite this, my sensitivity was heightened, and I feel that this heightened sensitivity is the cause of several other experiences that I have had later in life. I've had experiences such as clairaudience, telepathy, claircognizance, and clairsentience, and I've come to realize that the culture of the Middle East, particularly that of yoga and meditation, has a much better understanding of and vocabulary for the various types of extrasensory perception than we do in the United States.